Not sure if you remember, these two people have moved to Norway. Like many of us, we move abroad because of job and for better life. So we move away, and that's how this couple had moved from Calcutta. And Anurup and Sagarika Bhattacharya, they had a 3-year-old son and 1.5-year-old daughter when they lost custody of both their children. I mean, when their children were taken away, they were even younger than that. And the turmoil that this couple had to go through to get their kids back from the social services, from the safeguarding authority in that country, um, that is going to be portrayed in upcoming film of Rani Mukherjee. And I'll just come back to you. So I want to understand from you and hear from you if you have faced any such challenges in the UK. I've heard many stories where people say that their neighbors complain because they are cooking their Indian food, and the neighbors have a problem because they can get the smell, they get the smoke, and there are complaints made because they don't like it, etc., etc. But I want to hear from you if you have faced um, any kind of discrimination as a result of bringing your kids up in a certain way, whether it is by the social services or by the school or by the children of your by the parents of your children's friends, anybody around you, even your neighbors for that matter. So I would love to hear from you, but in the meantime, let's first have a look at this trailer.
वेलफेयर ने ये पाया है कि आप अपने बच्चों की देखभाल सही से नहीं कर पा रहे। What? आपके बच्चों की कस्टडी अब हमारे पास है। क्या बोल रहे हैं?
मेरा बच्चा ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग पे है। Please मेरा बच्चा वापस दे दो।
Hello to all the members of Indian Ladies in UK. I've heard some amazing and inspiring stories of the work that you do to help NRI women and children in distress out there in the UK. It has been a real eye-opening experience for me while working on Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway, an NRI woman who had to go through such an ordeal, a painful experience because of her beliefs and the love she had for her own culture. I do understand that it's a cultural battle that many of you have experienced, and I hope this film will shed some light on those struggles as well, and hope it touches your heart too. Thank you so much.
So, Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway is releasing in cinemas on the 17th of March, and we are very proud to be promoting this film. And thanks to Rani Mukherjee, who took the time to record this message for Indian Ladies UK and recognize the work that we do and have been doing for the last 7 years in the UK, highlighting the issues of NRIs, the challenges that we face, and also issues specifically related to our culture. So, hi Parul, nice to have you. Thank you for connecting. And let's see who all have connected here. Yeah. So we have a few ladies who have connected, and I do hope that that more will connect. And we have also got Anjana here, who will be joining us, who is a mom and an IT professional, a very very highly qualified IT professional, who is also battling for the custody of her child. She's a skilled IT senior leader with experiences across the world of turning around troubled critical projects into successful ones. And she has had to face some troubled and critical challenges in her personal life, where her life was turned upside down overnight when her child was taken away by the social services. And some of the experiences Anjana will be sharing with us in a few minutes today, and I will be bringing her on this feed so that you can hear from her. If you have any such stories or experiences, then do share with us. But let's talk about Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway, a film that is based on a true story of Anurup and Sagarika Bhattacharya, who were living in Norway and who faced tremendous difficulties as Indian parents who were trying to give their kids their Indian traditional upbringing. Now, you will be surprised to hear why their kids were taken away. I mean, it is so common in India for us, even here. I mean, I can't remember feeding my children with a spoon. I love feeding my children with my own hands. वो कहते हैं ना कि the food tastes better when mother feeds her children with her own hand, and that's what our tradition is all about, feeding with our own hands. But the Norwegian authorities saw Sagarika's gesture of feeding with her own hands as force feeding, because in Norway it is an alien concept that a mom would feed her kids like that, and also the children were sleeping with their parents, so co-sleeping was also seen as out of the ordinary, that it's uncommon for children in the Western world who are separated from the mother within the first few days of taking birth and are put in a separate room in their own cot. And basically, that's how, the Western culture deals with new babies. But in our culture, we keep our children very, very close to our chest, and we love hugging them, kissing them, keeping them with us in our bed. Sleeping with parents is such a common thing in India, and I'm sure many of you will agree with me. But this particular thing was seen as odd by the Norway authorities. So I'm going to play you a clip of a news bite from 2011. By the way, this case of Norway, two kids taken away, happened in 2011. And I'm going to play you a clip in case you missed out that story and you don't know what happened. So this clip might help you. It's just 2 minutes long, and it'll give you a fair background of the story.
Now imagine you live in a foreign country with two young children, and the country's child welfare department one day takes your children away because they feel You're not bringing them up properly. Sounds like a nightmare? Well, for Kolkata's Sagarika and Anurup Bhattacharya, now living in Norway, this is a nightmare they have been living through for the last 7 months. They have now appealed for help to the Indian government and Mamata Banerjee.
Abhigyan is now 2.5 years old. Aishwarya turned 1 on 6 December. 7 months ago, on 11th May, these two children were taken away from their parents, Sagarika and Anurup, by Norway's government-run Child Protective Services. The matter went to court, which on 30th November ruled that the children would be placed in separate foster homes till they were 18, and the parents can now see them only twice a year for 1 hour at a time.
We as a parents were very much upset and we confronted with this overwhelming situation. I am a bereaved mother. I lost my 4 months little baby and 2 years old son, and we have lots of emotional attachment with our kids.
And it's really very difficult really for us.
Very difficult in our
for
life.
us to survive and still stand in our own feet.
On what grounds did the Child Protective Services take the children away? The couple, who live in Stavanger's city, says cultural differences.
They told to me that why are you sleeping with your children in the same bed? And this is also a purely cultural issue that we never leave our children in another room and say good night to them.
The Bhattacharyas don't believe what has been done to their family is in the best interest of their children.
It's basically means like a nightmare, means child kidnapping in a civilized society. We have appealed to the Indian embassy that as soon as possible to bring back our kids back to India. And I'm ready to quit everything. I quit my job and everything and I just go back to India.
And in Kolkata, relatives have pleaded for government intervention.
জোর হাতে অনুরোধ করছি তারা যেন আমার নাতিকে দেশে ফিরিয়ে দিয়ে আসে এটাই আমার অন্তিম অনুরোধ.
The Bhattacharyas are a family in distress, with no clear light at the end of the tunnel about who will rescue their children and when. In Kolkata, Monideepa Banerjee, NDTV.
NDTV's cricket app. Android.
So this is the story of Bhattacharyas, whose 2 kids were taken away. Can you imagine a mother separated from her 4-month-old baby? I mean, 4-month-old babies are still being breastfed. And a 2-year-old child who is still just learning to talk and who's just learning to, do things that amuse parents, and he's trying new things, being naughty, etc. And 2 kids so young snatched away from parents and handed over to a complete to complete set of strangers. Imagine the stress, the distress that it would put the children into, as well as their parents. And this is nothing new in Norway, by the way. I mean, in a country that has a population of almost 5 million people, almost 13,000 children are in social care because they find something or the other odd with the families, and then they take them away. But while I say this, I'm not going to say that all the children who are removed because of cultural sensitivity. I'm sure there are many genuine cases where children, for their own safety, have to be removed. And I think they became quite strict since 2008, where when a child wasn't removed timely from his parents' home, the father ended up killing the child. And I think that these kind of examples are never good. And then they just wanted to make sure that they are doing the right thing. But at the same time, not having cultural sensitivity, especially towards people who are moving abroad into a new country. I mean, feeding your kids with your own hands, I don't see how anybody can see it as a crime. And these, the kids and the parents, they remained separated from each other for over 1.5 years, after which they were handed over to the relatives, still not to the parents. And how the family was broken, how the couple had to, run from pillar to post, requesting the Norwegian government, the Indian government, the high commissions, the embassies to help them somehow get their kids back. And it took them many, many, many years before they were reunited with their own children. And this is the story that is being shown in this upcoming film, Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway, where the main lead is played by Rani Mukherjee. And I think it's a film that all us NRIs must watch. And without any further delay, I would love to invite Anjana Sinha, who is here with us, who has joined us. Hi, Anjana. If you can unmute yourself. Hi.
Hi there.
Can everybody see Anjana? Aryan, can we see Anjana? Okay, great. So Anjana, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And you are an NRI, you have lived in this country for quite a few years, and you have a child. And as NRI, you have had to go through some difficulties for being a mother being an Indian mother of a child. So please tell us a little bit about yourself and a bit about the struggles that you have had to go through.
Thank you, Poonam. And yeah, as you rightly said, that such things are very challenging for NRIs, and the cultural differences, as well as the system, which has not perfect way of dealing with all the cases. So thankfully, there in the end, there is always a positive outcome if the efforts and the cases are in right direction. And the main issue here is the children's social services have not been under a lot of, what do you call it, auditing, scrutiny, or things which make them a robust organization. So there are many cases where they lack, and there is nothing to report against such. Means there is no, I am sure there might be some actions, but those actions are not good enough for any future cases to occur. And that's been apparent in we hear in the UK newspaper, not only NRIs, there are many other children's reporting their own safety, and which is being disregarded. And later on, few months down the line, that whole the child end up missing. I mean, child end up losing their own life, and we get a news around it. So the whole situation is this is a very important department. It deals with children. The government should bring more robustness, more scrutiny, more no scope for any lag, any manipulation. And what I heard and what I have kind of experience as well, there is a lot of manipulation that goes on in this children department, which actually leads to a lot of injustice to the children, to the innocents. And the abuser uses this as a tool to abuse more. And NRI women, I mean, particularly the case, Poonam, you were saying that's like two parents, but it is sometimes the abusive husband and the abusive in-laws also using this department as a tool to abuse a mother and a child, which actually can be pretty detrimental for a child and a mother in a foreign land. And to my surprise, the department is not being kind of asked questions and made to reply instantly, because this is instantly or probably in a very respected time. They are just being left on their own. They've given more of the power than what they should deserve to be there. There should be the power and the what do you call it, the processes should be again revised and should be checked and should remain under a very strict scrutiny, just like we have a lot of scrutiny. Like Poonam, I remember you telling that why police department is always under scrutiny. They are on their toes to do what is the best with the body cams and all that, which is not in this department, which makes them free to do whatever they want and probably distort the truth, make it whatever suits for their benefit, for reasons unknown, for manipulation. And this affect a lot of women, particularly NRI women. And there are tools and ways to deal with it, but those tools and ways are way slow. And I can tell you there are a lot of complaint against such cases which are piling up, and there are no actions that are coming for months. So who are at the suffering end is those innocent children who are very they don't have a loud voice of their own, and their voice is in a way getting suppressed, and their safety, their security, their childhood are all put to for granted. Means you are not giving best of their interest, rather you're taking away the best. Is what sometimes they end up doing the opposite of what they are supposed to do, which is very surprising and worrying. So hopefully there are initiatives, and I would suggest there should be some initiatives from Indian government as well, because there is a lot of Indians across UK, across many other of these countries, to have some kind of a different approach towards Indian families and have Indian government involvement in dealing with them, because there is a system in India which is working. Many of the Indian families run because we have a very robust Indian system and legal system which supports a girl against an abusive in-laws and abusive husband, which may turn abusive to their children, and they do that in a foreign land with no laws to deal with it. So hopefully if such collaboration happens between these countries where population of Indians are a lot, they just travel 8 hours, their whole life and way of style of living, their in-laws, everything, the culture, everything remains the same. So if something that if the legal system in these foreign lands evolve and take such adaptive measures, it will be in the benefit of justice. People will be happy, and it is something that must happen.
Yeah. So, like you said, but one thing I have noticed, and also I had the opportunity to get involved in your case right from the start when it was happening with you. I have noticed that sometimes social services comes in with preconceived notions. They have already made up their mind, they have already decided what they are going to do, and there is no way you can change how they are thinking or what action they are taking. And sometimes these extreme measures can put a child into extreme distress. Of course, the parents go through distress, and parents can obviously, they are adults, they can deal with this kind of with stress, but the kind of stress that the kids have to go through for no fault of theirs, and they just have to listen to what they are being forced to do. It's as if they have no say, they can't decide for themselves, they are treated as objects who don't have any rights. I mean, in all of this,
Yeah.
the child's human rights are usually ignored. They are not considered at all. It's as if somebody else is in charge of their life. And like you said, sometimes social services uh, will make decisions, and they will do whatever they want because they are not under scrutiny, and they have the power over the police, and sometimes even the courts end up just believing everything that the social services tells them, and the orders are all obviously based on their reports, and very little is taken into consideration what the parent is saying. There are no body cams, there is no evidence, it's just one person's words against the other, and that obviously causes a lot of stress for the entire family, and it can sometimes takes months and years for the parent to be able to get their child back, let alone get to meet them. So you have had to go through separation with your own child, and the battle you have fought, I salute you that you didn't give up. But how many people are there who continue their fight, and who have the resources to fight? Because a lot of the times people don't even know which legal service to go to, what are their rights, and they don't even have the financial stability, which luckily you had, where you could just hire the best in the industry to put your case forward. And at times, even I mean,
That failed.
even you represented yourself as well.
I have to. It's not a robust system. It's a age-old system. They are using this as a tool against innocence. So like I said, it's can be used by the abusive in-laws and husband to attack a child and a mother, which is very dangerous in a country. Where is law and order then? When you can manipulate an organization for attacking an innocent. So you don't have to be who are the law guardians are becoming people who are themselves taking away the legal rights of an innocent person, a child. And so these should be checked by the government, and I'm very surprised that there are so many cases, and not only NRI cases, the UK British kids who have ended up losing their lives, and still there are no reforms, no drastic changes that are coming across. Still there is, like you said, there is no high tech. Technology is part of each and every life today. You go to UK, you come out of it, there are 10 cameras taking care of your parking, taking care of where are you parking in a bay, how much. Within a second, if you cross a red light, you get a course to do, and all those things. When you are so high tech for maintaining your law and order in a traffic situation, then these small kids need truth, they need justice. Their voice can be suppressed very easily by manipulation of the system. So put some technology like you suggested, Poonam, body cams, supervision, no person base. Social workers should not be dedicated, they should rotate just like police officers rotate. And truthfulness, honesty, all these are nowhere there. So if there are no ethics, no honesty, and there, as far as my I can see. And if those can be manipulated, I'm not saying every case, but probably if those are there to be manipulated by the abuser, then I think it's very dangerous place where kids can be, put to risk at any time by anyone by through these services.
Yeah, there is a huge need for reforms and change in the way things are dealt with, because obviously time is changing, and I think it is time for the change in laws as well, and policies, and uh, how it's even evaluated, what is a risk and what isn't, should also be uh, looked into, like, little rationally, you know
Mhm.
and yeah, sadly that isn't happening at the moment. And there are so many families that are separated, children separated from either both the parents or at least one of the parent. And also sometimes, in these abusive marriages where two people are not in agreement with each other, the abuser sometimes, start using, especially the father, they start using child as a tool to control the other partner,
Mhm.
because they know that even though they may not have all the time in the world to spend with the child, they were never available, they were never around, because mostly they are, they come back from work, they will spend a little bit of time with the kids, and then they want to do their own stuff. Most of the day they are out. It's us mothers who look after every single need of the child, from waking them up to brushing their teeth to packing their lunch boxes to feeding them to washing and making sure their studies are done, attending parent teacher meetings, taking them to activities, while also doing a job and making sure that they are also contributing financially into the house. So sometimes the other partner, they know how attached a mother is to the child, and that is the only way they see a tool to break the mother is to take the child away. And that is part of the manipulation, and these cases are so common, and it surprises me that that the social care system sometimes is unable to see these things, because I don't know what are the tick boxes for them, but you just walk into somebody's house, and what you see at that moment, on that basis, you just turn everybody's life around, isn't it?
Yeah, and sometimes it is just that because the system is not that much robustly scrutinized, they just make it up
Yeah,
with the influence of father for some or the other reason, is never which never come to light. And it is surprising that these checks are not made, and stringent actions and repercussions of not being honest in children's social service is being given an importance. It's not an important thing. So any complaint against people who are dealing with children should be taken at utmost priority, but it's not getting heard.
yeah,
Which is it's not, and it is taking a lot of delays. So as a result, I think there is a lot of reform needed in these services, or rather these services should just been kind of dissolved into other services like police services, some other, like India. If you see, Poonam, do we have any children's social service? Are the kids in India not happy? I think, and there are not no such cases where anybody can take, I mean, a husband can take a child from a mother without the child wishes. And I mean, this is like I would say these countries should actually learn from India in adapting to a very straightforward system where a children can actually go in front of the judge and say what they want.
Yeah,
And
and they are heard. And they are heard. Here, if a child says something, it is called, the child has been coached to say this by one of the parents. They immediately say it. I mean, I'm sure
they can
coaching
be
never
influenced
happens.
to
I'm
write
sure
a
it
report, which
happens that a child can get influenced, but still, a child should have the right to say what they are saying, and then it should still be registered what the kid has said. A lot of the times, I have heard some very serious things that kids have said about the parent that they have been forced to live with, and still the social services has taken very little interest in that matter,
yeah.
and
So
have been
I would,
abused as well.
yes, they are not making the lives of children and the innocents better. They are making it rather a lot worse. So which should be put under survey or some kind of a review to bring some reforms, or probably just revamp the whole system and learn from countries like India with diverse population and with so many kids around, young population, and they are thriving with no such major issues where children are being uh, at least not heard. So the voice of the child is heard socially as well as in the court directly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you all the best for your onward fight, but so far you've done amazing. And I hope many women can take inspiration from you and not give up the fight. And I think we should write about these things and talk about these things more, because it's mostly us NRIs who don't have the social support or the family support in an alien land where we just are clueless about our rights and about how the system works. And so there should be these things should be documented, where um, people can just dig in and find out what is the next step for them. But I thank you very much for joining us, and if anything you want to say before you go.
That's about it. It's a great initiative from your side, Poonam. I would suggest that you reach out to the Indian government also to probably have a tie-up or some kind of talks initiated with with the UK government, because there is a huge population of Indians living over here, so that they are not being subjected to something which is unfair as part of uh, these services, and probably if possible the Indian government should be given a say to people who are from Indian origin.
Yeah, well, these are things that we are constantly, asking the Indian government to get involved with, especially the High Commission. I keep telling the High Commissioner that he must, when he goes to meet these people for bilateral talks for the free trade agreements and all sorts of things, they should also talk about the issues of NRIs. You know, about what our challenges, what our needs are, what our culture is, and how we should be treated with a little bit of sensitivity. And the cases should be looked into with a perspective of with an Indian perspective, So, uh, but I don't know. I mean, we can only raise our voice, and I hope it will
Yeah, I
be
mean,
heard.
it's surprising that there are so many Indian population here, but even the kind of if you say dowry system, uh, you know, the kind of Indian strong laws which have for protecting a married woman and her rights in India is kind of never heard in UK, with in UK system, UK, even the UK judiciary, which should become more prevalent. Some voice should actually make it heard that this is how Indian families are thriving in India, and these family when migrate here, there is a different legal system which can put a girl in vulnerable position because she's lost her legal rights from her by moving from her native country into a country which has not seen that kind of a culture in their history.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Anjana. Thank you for joining us, and I hope that we can have you back in one of our other discussions. And please, you know, you can reach out to us anytime, and we are with you in your battle.
Thank you so much, Poonam. Your support and strength is something which is a guarantee for success.
Oh, thank you. Take care. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. You too. Bye bye.
So that was Anjana Sinha, who is a resident in the UK. She is from India and she has had to go through some really tough time with regards to the custody of her own child. And she has had to fight with the system to make them understand what being an Indian mother is like, and how our needs should be treated with an Indian perspective. And we've been talking about these cultural sensitivities as NRIs that we have to that's sometimes missing in Western countries. We move abroad and we bring a baggage of our culture, of our heritage, of our what has been passed on, our traditions to a foreign land, but not always our traditions are understood by the foreign countries' laws, and it can sometimes, our own cultures, our own traditions can become a big challenge for us. So I would like to know from some of you. I mean, how many of you still feed your children with your own hands, and have you ever thought that it could become a problem in a country like Norway, where it could be seen as forced feeding? Or how many of you, or how many of your kids still sleep with you in the same bed? And This is so common in India. I mean, have you ever thought that this could actually become a reason for children to be removed from the care of their own parents uh, in a country like Norway? I'm sure the UK is far more culturally sensitive when it comes to, I mean, when compared to a country like the Norway. But I want to also bring to your attention another story that is going on, where a little girl who is just 1.5 years old, and she was living in Germany with her parents, and she has been taken away by the sorry, she's 3 years old, and she has been taken away uh, by the German authorities because they thought that the child is not safe with her own parents. Now, this is a Shah family, okay, who are right now running again from pillar to post, just like the Bhattacharyas, to get their daughter back. And basically, what happened is that the child hurt herself in her private part. I don't know whether as a result of falling or how she hurt herself. They took her to the doctor. The doctor said everything was okay. She was brought back. They went for a follow-up checkup, and then again the doctor sent them back home, but also reported the matter to the social services there, and who removed the child immediately, saying the child was subjected to sexual abuse. And when it was investigated further, it became clear that the child didn't suffer from any sexual abuse, but still there were more issues that were brought up, that they discipline the child too much, they don't allow her to eat what she likes, they force feed her, or they put restrictions on the amount of time she can spend playing, so they are disciplined a lot. So that's the reason they are using to to keep the child away from the parents. So currently she's a Gujarati Jain child who the parents say have been put with a family that's a meat-eating family. So their cultural sensitivities are completely ignored, and they are obviously very distressed, and they are allowed only to meet their child, I think, once a month or once a year. I'm not entirely sure, but can you imagine such a young child taken away from the parents, and so the child has already been away from the parents for a year. So when she was taken away, she was probably 1.5 years. Imagine, she's already spent 1.5 years away from her parents. She's now 3. What attachment will she have? What culture will she will she take on? You know, is it the German culture or the Indian culture? How will she take on her Indian culture when she is not even allowed to be with her family, or she's not allowed to meet them, or she can't even learn the language? Because in the first 5 years of our kids' lives, we make sure that our kids learn as much about their own culture as possible. They say up to 5 years kids can learn up to 5 different languages. So let me just show you this clip of these parents who are currently fighting for the custody of their daughter in Germany, and they have now gone to India and now requesting the Indian government to get involved and help bring their daughter back.
हमारे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी मोदी जी से विनती करते हैं, जैसे पहले बच्चे लाए हैं, हरिया को भी लाए। ज़्यादा अटैच्ड है। हम ये क्यों कह रहे हैं कि हम बच्ची को इंडिया लाना चाहिए, क्योंकि हमें 2 क्रिमिनल केस बंद हो चुका है, 2 साइकोलॉजिस्ट ने ये सजेस्ट किया है कि हम बच्ची को हमारे साथ रहने दें, पर बहुत सारी चीज़ें, एक तो उन्हीं की सिस्टम है, उन्हीं के लोग हैं, दूसरा हमें फेयर ट्रायल नहीं मिल रहा। जो हमारा कल्चरल चीज़ों का कंटेक्स्ट है वो लोग नहीं समझ पाए। जैसे हमारे वहाँ पे हाथ से खिलाना वो हमारा प्यार होता है, हम अब बच्चों को आग्रह करके खिलाते वो हमारा प्यार होता है कि बच्चों को ज़्यादा खिलाए, पर वो उन्हें फोर्स फीडिंग कहते हैं। तो ये कल्चरल कंटेक्स्ट भी हम नहीं समझा पाएंगे, तो वहाँ पे हमें फेयर ट्रायल ही नहीं मिल रहा है। तो बच्ची के लिए ज़रूरी है, हमारे लिए भी ज़रूरी है कि हमें इंडिया में लाया जाए बच्ची को, या हमारी कस्टडी में, या एक्सटेंडेड फैमिली की कस्टडी में, या तो विदेश मंत्रालय ने भी बच्ची के लिए एक इंडियन फॉस्टर केयर इंडिया में ढूंढ लिया है, तो उन्होंने इंडियन चाइल्ड वेलफेयर कमेटी की मदद से ढूंढा है, तो बच्चे को उन्हें दिया जाए। हम शुरू से विदेश मंत्रालय के कांटेक्ट में हैं, वो प्रयत्न अब तक कर रहे हैं, तो अभी तक कोई कॉन्क्रीट रिजल्ट नहीं आया।
three things I would say. One, this is something of great sensitivity, something which we deeply care about, something on which our embassy has been in very close touch with the parents, with the German authorities, and trying to find a way forward. You would agree that since it involves baby, infant, child, there are serious issues relating to privacy. I don't think it would be correct for me to comment on those parts, but this is something which we deeply care about, we are very sensitive to, and we are regularly very in close touch with the parents relating to this case.
So this is story of another couple in Germany who is fighting for the custody of their very young daughter, Arya Shah. Can you imagine? The man has already lost his job. They have been found not guilty of any kind of sexual abuse to the girl, and still the child has not been given back to them. The ordeal that the parents are going through, बच्ची एक देश में है and they are in another country, and now the reason they don't want to give the child back is because the child doesn't know any Indian languages. I mean, it's like एक तरफ कुआं एक तरफ खाई वाली बात हो गई कि the parents have to suffer no matter what. First the child is taken away, and then now she's not being handed back because she doesn't know the languages. Parents have already lost job. They have spent lakhs and lakhs of rupees trying to get the custody of their child back. I just hope that something comes out as a result of Indian government getting involved into this matter. But how much has the family already lost? The child has already lost. It will be such a trauma for her. First, it was a trauma for her when she was removed from her parents, and now she will have to go through another trauma when she will be suddenly removed from the family she is with and be handed back to her parents. Her entire life is going to be affected as a result of this. And nobody realizes the trauma that a child goes through. And I don't know how many more stories there are where Indian couples are fighting for the custody of their kids who were taken away because of cultural insensitivity by that particular country's social care system. I think we need to continue these conversations on Womann Ki Baat in the coming weeks, and each week we will bring up a new topic to discuss. And if you would like to be part of these conversations, then do get in touch, and we would love to feature you. We would love to talk about it and keep the conversation going. So thank you very much. That's all the time we have today for this conversation on Womann Ki Baat. And do watch the film Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway, which is releasing on the 17th of March. And we have 10 tickets to give away, which we will be announcing on our Facebook page. These 10 lucky winners will get a chance to watch a pre-release of the film on the 14th of March. And they will be able to tell you what they think about the film. I'll see you next week, same time at 4 o'clock Sunday. And in the meantime, enjoy and be safe.
वेलफेयर ने ये पाया है कि आप अपने बच्चों की देखभाल सही से नहीं कर पा रहे. What? आपके बच्चों की कस्टडी अब हमारे पास है. क्या बोल रहे हैं?
मेरा बच्चा ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग पे है. Please मेरा बच्चा वापस दे दो.
Hello to all the members of Indian ladies in UK. I've heard some amazing and inspiring stories of the work that you do to help NRI women and children in distress out there in the UK. It has been a real eye-opening experience for me while working on Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway. An NRI woman who had to go through such an ordeal, a painful experience because of her beliefs and the love she had for her own culture. I do understand that it's a cultural battle that many of you have experienced, and I hope this film will shed some light on those struggles as well, and hope it touches your heart too. Thank you so much.